Welcome to the squat tutorial, brought to you by Metal Barbell. In this video, we will outline the major points of performance necessary for success in the squat as it relates to Olympic weightlifting. You will see demonstrations from two different athletes with drastically different anatomical proportions and mobility restrictions, but both are weightlifting athletes with years of national and international experience. We begin the setup by placing the feet between hip and shoulder width, from where the leg attaches in the hip socket straight down within the breadth of the shoulders. The toes should be pointed out slightly, anywhere from 10 to 30 degrees, and will depend upon individual differences in hip mobility and structure. Adjust if the initial position doesn't facilitate a balanced squat. 3 points of contact is created on the floor with your foot. Spread your foot from your big toe to little toe to heel and grip the whole floor with a tripod of balance. Breathing is initiated by inhaling through the nose and pushing air deep into the belly and lower abdominals. This creates stability in the pelvic floor and incites your glutes to perform loading. Your ribs should not flare out in this action. Eyes are on the horizon to help with balance and maintain a neutral spine throughout the movement. You should initiate descent by breaking at the hips first. Think about pointing your butt straight down towards the heels. This will likely require a degree of knee flexion, but it is important that the loading is initiated with a stable hip position, as a compromised one is difficult to correct under load during the movement. Now we see an athlete with very different anatomical proportions, a much shorter torso and longer femurs relatively to the first one. Both have fairly poor ankle flexibility that will cause the torso to lean in more than ideal for weightlifting. This issue will be addressed when we add weightlifting shoes in the next phase of the demonstration. She goes through the same checklist by setting the feet in the correct position with the toes out and the whole foot gripping the floor, taking deep breaths to brace the spine and make it work in concert with the pelvis, and by initiating the dip through the hips. It is ideal to be as upright as possible as your mobility will allow, but degrees of ankle and hip mobility will determine the exact angle at which your torso must perform the movement. As we see now with the addition of weightlifting shoes, the angle of the torso is going to change drastically by just adding about a ½ inch of artificial ankle flexibility. The same points of performance are repeated by placing the feet in the proper position, the toes out, and a balanced whole foot into the floor. Breathing is still conducted to have a braced spine, and then braking of descent of the squat is initiated through the hips. Because the weightlifting shoes are now on, it is much easier for the athlete to maintain an upright position. That is important when performing snatches and cleans. If possible, control the movement. Make it slow to earn positional integrity and develop motor control. This will prevent costly mistakes when under load. Sometimes this means not always going to the end range of your flexibility, though deep squats well below the knees are always a desirable outcome when training for weightlifting. We see the same points of performance repeated. Conscious breathing and bracing, initiating the squat through the hips, and now with an improved angle at the ankles, the torso is significantly more upright than it was previously. Next, we'll discuss barbell placement for back squats. Bring your scapula together and create a base with your trapezius muscles for the barbell to sit on. The grip width on the actual barbell will be determined based upon the width of your shoulders, shoulder flexibility, and general comfort. Keep the forearms as vertical as your mobility will allow and pull the bar down into your body. This athlete has a significantly narrower grip than the previous one because the shoulders are less broad. The shoulder mobility in the capsule is much better. And she pulls the bar down into the torso and keeps it as upright as possible. It is important in the back squat when training for weightlifting that the hips stay underneath the barbell as much as possible. That is why when you initiate the hip descent, it is not by pushing the butt back. It is by initiating it straight down, as if to place the hips directly between the feet. You can see the upright torso angle with the load on the back. The hips beginning the loading, the hamstrings facilitating a descent, and the quads quickly extending the knees when necessary. Different proportions, same result. Vertical torso, athlete could keep their eyes a little bit better on the horizon. Now we're looking at foot pressure as it maintains constant. If you set up your foot correctly with that tripod, that 3 points of contact, it will not err too far to the toes or too far to the heels. With a better and broader surface area to apply pressure into the floor, you'll have more stability and more ability to create force with your legs. You can see from the front how the eyes stay on the horizon and allow the athlete to keep an upright torso. This also assists in balance when pulling barbells from the floor in the snatch or the clean. And this concludes our squat tutorial. We hope you enjoyed it and learned a thing or two, and we'll bring it into your training for more successful squats.